Okay, we've talked about this a lot this year, that when you work with triangles, some of those edges, there's no way you can get three sides with at least one side isn't on what we call the bias, which creates, stretch. So having these starched well or spritzed and pressed well before you cut them with best press will be important. The other thing that when you're working with triangles and you're sewing two of them together, for example, if I was going to sew this to this, maybe not. Let me see. So this one to this one, right sides together. When you sew your 1/4 inch seam and you open it, you actually end up with the points become what we call wings. They kind of stick out. Sometimes it's even hard to figure out how to line one up and make sure it's exact. The featured item we're going to talk about this month is a corner trimmer. I'm using this one from Marty Michelle, the perfect patchwork corner trimmer. And what I like to do when I'm working with a lot of triangles is if I go in and pre-trim my corners with this, when I go to put them together, you're going to see here how it works. Oh my gosh, they work, you know exactly the ends match, and when you press, you don't have those wings that you have to deal with. So I'm going to show you on one of the big triangles, and this works for any size triangle that you're working with what we call a 45-degree triangle, which looks like a half square triangle, okay? So Michelle's going to angle the camera down here, and hopefully you'll be able to see this. So I am going to first start by cutting the side triangles. So if I place this on here just like the shape of the triangle, it doesn't matter what size triangle, and I slide this over until the two edges are even. Can you see? You don't see any fabric coming out there. Then there's two angles here. I'm going to cut this angle and I'm going to cut this angle. All right? So if you look at the point now, you can see that it's kind of got a fun shape to it now, but the wing is gone. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this right over to the other side. And again, I'm going to make sure it's right on the edges. And then I'm going to cut both directions. It's called clipping the wings. Okay, we've clipped the wings. And then we're also going to slide this up to the top so that both sides, again, are even, and that, unfortunately, that tip, let me do it on this one so you can see, because that tip ended up being light and you couldn't see it, but you notice it's not a lot there. But we're going to clip that wing too, okay? So what we have is, we actually, and I'm going to go ahead and clip this one so you can see one totally clipped. So you have a triangle now with no points. Do you see how they're all kind of flat? And where this comes into play is when we go to assemble these, I'm going to show you how when you lay these triangles together, these piece parts, these angles are going to be the same, and you're going to have them lined up perfectly. And then when you sew and you press, you're going to see that all those little wings that you normally have to go back in and clip off aren't there, which helps reduce the bulk and the seam allowance. Okay? So our first instruction is going to be to make the flying geese blocks. So it's going to be, did I trim any of these? I didn't. That was my bad. So to make the flying geese block, you're going to take the large triangle C, and we're going to take two of the triangle, these are triangle A, so we're doing A's and C's, and we're going to create our flying geese. Now, a couple of hints and tips here. You need to lay out your block like I have here, and I shouldn't have taken it down. Okay, is that correct? That doesn't look correct. Other way. Does that look like the picture? No, it doesn't. No, because I have this going. Now you can see how dyslexic I am. Because you want these to be the same color, all right? So you can see why Everything is different. There's not one thing that is the same. You absolutely need to lay this out according to the picture and then pick things up and sew them and put them back. Because if you're going to get the weave effect here, things have to be in the right place. So it's going to take some time. And I promise you, if you try to take shortcuts, you're not going to be happy about that. Okay, I am quickly going to trim the wings of one side of my flying geese so that you can see what difference it makes when I go to put them together. And I should have had this done. I'm sorry, but you get to watch me trim again. And if you know Marty Michelle, she is known for her templates. And when you use her templates, it's amazing how accurately difficult blocks will go together because you know exactly how to line things up. She has full sets that you can buy for different things, for half square triangles and whatnot, and then she has double wedding ring and all of your New York beauties, all of your tough ones, okay? So knowing that we have to put this on here, right, we're gonna flip this over, and what I wanna show you is, look how beautifully that corner comes together. You have the exact same shape, right? And then when you come up here to the top, your top goes together, just like that. It's nice and flat, and it's hard to do. And then when you sew your 1/4 inch seam allowance, which is about where that peak is going to be, and you go to flip, I don't know if you can tell in my sample how beautifully, when you flip those up, you have no wings, okay, here or down here. So you can see you don't have a lot of extra bulk in that seam allowance where those wings came together. It lays much flatter, okay? So I just went ahead when I made my block and cut all the wings to start. If you don't want to cut the wings, that's fine. You can just sew them and clip them after you've pressed them, all right? But to do the old-fashioned way with flying geese is you're going to put this, and you will line up the two bottoms evenly, and then you will sew your 1/4 inch and flip that up, and you will come back and add the second side and flip that up. So no quick method here. We are actually using flying geese, and we had you cut them. You're going to end up with extra triangles because we had them cut them so that we ended up with the bias where it belonged, not on the outside of the blocks. Okay, so you're going to make 4 of these, and if you look at the picture, they are all different. So make sure you get your triangles in the right place. Okay, after you get your 4 flying geese done, you have to make your 1/4 square triangles. And again, if you look at this, if I kind of pull this away so you can see the 1/4 square triangle block, I'm going to flip that down. We're going to have 2 halves, 2 quarters, and a half that we're going to be creating these 4 center blocks with. So the first thing you have to do, and hopefully that's in my instructions, yep, is we have to sew 2 of the 1/4 units together, okay? And you really need to pay attention to how it's in the block and what side you're going to sew. But what we're going to do is we are going to flip this over, come on, like this, and this is the seam you will sew. And again, if you've got your corners clipped, it makes the points go away, and it makes it lining everything up beautiful. And you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam, and you're going to press that carefully, and that will open up like that. And then you're going to take this triangle and flip it down over this, and you are going to sew your 1/4 inch seam and press that up. And now you're going to have 4 of these, and if you've got them laid out right, it's going to have the colors going in the right direction, okay? So you're going to make 4 of these units, 4 of these units, And after you've done that, you're just going to put your block together. But again, lay it all out, and then I sewed in rows. No, I didn't, because you can't. I sewed the center together as a square, so this one to this one, this one to this one. Then I sewed this unit to the middle, this unit to the middle. Then I sewed the 3.5-inch squares at each end of the top and bottom row, and flipped that over and sewed, and flipped this up and sewed, and opened it up. And I got this beautiful block out of it. And other than being patient and making sure you have your colors going in the right direction, there's nothing hard about it whatsoever. But I will tell you that by clipping my corners, I was amazed at how accurate my block came out and how pretty it came out. And look how nice and neat the back is, which I normally don't show my backs, because I hate that, sometimes they're not as pretty as I like. So that is this month's block. Hopefully you won't have too many questions, and if you do, just give us a call. And keep an eye out for next month, and we'll have sign-ups for you to start again. Let's see, next month, this is September, so we have one more month in October, and we'll start the new one in November. I can't believe I'm saying November. So, all right, well, I hope that all works for you, and we'll see you next month.